Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Andy Lagopis, and tonight we have a very special guest with us. You may have heard of his massive, over 100-chapter, 600,000 plus word fanfic, When Instinct Falls. Give it up for Upplet.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you here. Now, first question's pretty standard, but where's the name Upplet come from?
Good question. As a matter of fact, it actually came about from this one video I saw a long time ago of this one, I think it was Russian, this one dog. See, at the time I was making my username, I was kind of like, figuring things out, like, okay, what do I want to do for this name? And
Right.
I was on YouTube and I came across this random video just by chance, and it was just of some person playing with their dog in some snowy forest, and it had the word Upplet in the title, and I thought, that's a pretty interesting word. And of course, who doesn't like dogs? So I decided to stick with it, and now it's my name.
All right. So what got you into writing? Did you write about anything before Zootopia?
None at all.
No? Really?
Nothing.
Like, you're completely new to the whole writing thing other than this massive fic you've been working on for years?
Yep. Didn't do squat beforehand. Nothing.
Wow. So just been making it up as you go?
Yeah, pretty much. It's been a bit of a trial by fire since day one. I've learned a lot, had to teach myself a lot, but overall I'm pretty proud of what I've accomplished so far. I've made a lot of mistakes in the process, but of course, what are mistakes without the lessons that come after them, right? So
Exactly.
It's been a learning process.
So for those who might not have heard of it, could you explain what When Instinct Falls is? As short and spoiler-free as possible, if you can,
As short and spoiler-free as possible. All right, I'll do my best. Well, in summary, it is about Nick and Judy's continued endeavors to not only learn more about themselves and others, but as they continue to combat the forces of evil in the city and explore it all the while.
So by explore, what exactly do you mean?
Exactly what it sounds like. Their cases as they, combat various villains around the city, specifically, crime lords, people who are, I kind of headcanon as like the biggest criminals in the city and such, like Mr. Big, for example. Their cases take them all around the city, from Tundra Town to Rainforest District to places that were scrapped from the original plot and might not be known to very many people, such as Outback Island, the Docks, the Nocturnal District, even one district of my own creation called the Deciduous District, which I always thought was kind of neat given the fact that we didn't see a temperate forest district in the actual movie. So it's been an adventure, so to say, taking them around the city, exploring what it has to offer, and enjoying themselves along the way.
So how big is it at this point? Like I mentioned earlier, it's like hundreds of thousands of words, but like, where are we at right now?
As of this recording, it is approximately 686,000 words and counting, spread throughout 113 chapters. There are only about 3 to 5 chapters left, I had to say. Put an estimate on it. I've been planning as much as I can for the big finale, and I would say there's only about, 3 to 5 left. Probably more like 3, if I had to guess, at the current rate I've been writing and putting these things out. So we're almost there.
Woohoo! Nice. When did you start writing it?
Well, after I first saw the teaser trailer for the movie back in late 2015, so long ago, I got interested in it.
So before the movie even came out?
Well, I wouldn't say I started writing it, but I started getting an inkling of an idea. I thought, okay, it might be fun to, look into this a bit more. I didn't start writing until after the movie came out, of course, because I didn't want to start, making things without knowing what the movie even entailed from it, so what the movie even had.
Hey, you'd be surprised what some people did.
Oh, yeah. People have been writing since before the movie even came out. But I wanted to, have an understanding of the actual plot so I could follow it up with something a bit more concrete.
So what inspired you to write about Zootopia? And, especially When Instinct Falls? What's kept you writing?
Second question first. What's kept me writing? Easily, it's been the support from the fans. All the inspiration I get from seeing all these people just enjoy what I write, take something from it, It's been amazing. Just the lessons I've learned, the joy I've felt, the joy I've given, just the stuff people have told me. It's incredible just trying to, give something back to the community. And I'd say that's definitely what's inspired me the most to keep writing. But as for what started the writing, simply just my love of the movie. When I first saw it in theaters, I was astounded by the visuals, the plot, the characters, everything in between. And I thought, I want to write for that. I want to take that a stretch farther and see what happens. I wanted to explore the city more, write about the characters, detail more about the movie and its universe.
Well, that's a sentiment a lot of us share. Guess that answers the next question I had of how the story's popularity has affected the writing process, but did you ever expect it to get as popular as it did?
Not
Or
at
has?
all. I originally only planned to have it be 3 chapters, believe it or not. Then people
Only 3?
wanted more. Yeah, can you believe that? Started out 3, now it's 113. Yeah, people wanted more, so I doubled the number to 6 and expanded on the plot that the first 3 chapters, brought
And then
to the
doubled it
table.
again, and again,
yeah, just
and
kept
exponentially.
Growing. And I started realizing, okay, I really like writing for this thing. I want to take it a bit further, see how far I can go with it, give something to the community that they can chew on. And only just now have I finally realized that, okay, I've wrapped up everything nicely, I'd say, and I'm ready to finish the story. So it's been a work in progress. I've had a lot to tell over the years, but I'm looking forward to finally finishing it.
And we're looking forward to reading the final chapters.
I appreciate that.
You created a huge assortment of original characters for it. I mean, who are some of your favorites?
Well, some of them I would say are a bit more impactful than others to me. My personal favorite would easily have to be Vladzot's Fangpire, the vampire bat. He was the first truly fleshed out original character I developed as a primary antagonist for the story's earlier chapters. And he, like Mr. Big, is a criminal mob boss, except instead of being based in Tundra Town as Mr. Big is, he's based in the Nocturnal District. Over the chapters, Vladzot has served as the story's primary antagonist, and watching him develop as a character has been pretty neat, I would say. He's probably my favorite character.
If you could give us some spoiler-free examples of like how he's grown as it's progressed, that'd be cool.
Spoiler-free examples of how he's grown. Got it. It's hard to do it without spoiling too much because...
Okay, it is a character's growth and development, but like...
I can narrow it down a bit, don't worry. I would say probably him learning more about himself and his motivations, realizing that perhaps his villainous motivations weren't quite as well placed as he had originally thought. As you can imagine, such thoughts came about when he found love, and as love often does, you could say. And so his development from the interactions he's had with another character that has helped grow him and her simultaneously.
So, in such a large story as this, I mean, there are several distinct story arcs. Like, which one is your favorite? Or can you just, quick summary of, the overarching arcs?
A quick summary of the overarching plot would probably just be Nick and Judy's continued fight against the city's crime lords, and
so one arc would be against Vladots, another against Al Capone.
Yes, precisely. Not so clear cut. There's a number of different things that kind of spice things up, like vacations thrown in the middle, trips, stuff that gets in the way of their cases, stuff like that. But yeah, that's probably the primary conflict there, the clash between the ZPD and the crime lords over time.
So which was your favorite to write?
I'm kind of tempted to say the latest one, the 7th arc, which features Al Capone as a primary antagonist, probably just because of the things that happen in it, and and of course the writing style has improved over time throughout the story, so it's kind of an influencing factor if you can look back on, the latest chapters you've wrote and actually be proud of them instead of cringing at the older ones. But hey, I've done some edits on the older ones, made them as good as I possibly can. But I would say the 3rd story arc, where Vladzot makes his first appearance, is probably if not a close second to the 7th arc.
7 arcs. Wow.
Yeah, some of them are shorter than others. Like, for example, the first arc is just the first chapter. I like to categorize the arcs by the overall plot of what happens in that particular section of the story. Like, for example, the first 3 chapters are about Nick and Judy consummating their marriage. The next 3 are about Nick reconciling with his father.
Which, by the way, there is a clean version of the story that you can go read if you don't want any
of the explicit material, yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, some of the arcs are shorter, some of them are longer, but overall I would say my favorite would either be the 3rd or the 7th.
Wow, that is enormous. That's a whole multi-season TV show right there,
Yeah, some people have told me it's a pretty darn long story. I think it's even longer than War and Peace, someone recently told me. So it is an investment. You have to be willing to put in the time if you want to finish the whole thing, but it is an enthralling story experience, and I encourage anyone, if they're interested in checking it out, to give it a chance.
Yeah, so with the story this large, do you have any regrets about continuing it for so long?
Oh, I have plenty. There are plenty of chapters that I feel could have been combined to shorten the overall chapter count. Some of them probably could have been omitted entirely, and of course course, that's not even counting certain scenes that I am regretful over, scenes that I feel like could have been adjusted or completely omitted. Like I said, a lot of combination. The first 14 chapters, in fact, are mostly just plotless, fluffy romance, because at the time I wasn't really sure where I wanted to take the plot of the story. I was just kind of writing as I went, following it step by step, kind of like, the beginnings of the learning process. And then come chapter 15, I realized, okay, now I have a foundation of where I want to take this story and how I want to do it. And from there, the plot just keeps going and going.
So is there any point where you considered stopping it earlier?
Oh, I've considered stopping a few times. Like I said, I originally wanted to stop at 3 chapters, but then the support from the early Zootopia community and its kindling light decided to, give me some more inspiration to continue. There were a few times when I thought, okay, maybe this might be a good spot to end it, but there's still just a bit more I want to tell, because just loose ends that haven't gotten wrapped up just yet. And that's why the story's gone on so long. I didn't really want to stretch it out this long. I never imagined it would get stretched out this long, trust me. But there were just loose ends that, as the plot flowed, couldn't have been wrapped up in a particular place. They had to come naturally, right? I couldn't just force them in. I had to wait for their time.
Right.
And now the time has almost come.
So now that you're finishing it up, how does it feel to have a project of this magnitude, like this colossal, ginormous fanfic, like finally finishing?
Well, there's a certain relief. I have spent hours upon hours upon hours designing this thing for years on end. So there's a certain relief that comes to it, to finally be free, I guess you could say, and a certain amount of pride, because, like I said, you can't make something this long without, being able to enjoy it yourself. I'm looking forward to finishing it, though.
So are you considering writing anything else after When Instinct Falls? Like any future stories? Not necessarily Zootopia or anything else?
I am, actually. I'm considering writing a few simple one-shots just to, break out the fingers, get the creative juices flowing. Something new, small, fresh.
Isn't that what When Instinct Falls started as? Just a one-shot?
Oh, yeah, I guess you could say it did. But hey, this time I'll be sure not to let it, grow out of control.
All right.
Anyways, I am strongly considering writing a sequel. Might wait until the actual movie sequel is released, but I have been weighing over the options of a potential sequel and or spin-off called When Night Falls. That's an early hint at the title, by the way, so people might be able to look forward to that sooner or later. But for now, it's still in the development stage. There's a decent ways to go, but I've been putting it together over time, and I think it very well serve as either a spin-off or a sequel, depending on how, the plot folds together over time. But yes, to answer your question, I am planning to continue writing afterwards.
So what advice would you give to anyone wanting to undertake a huge story like yours?
With reading, well, you have to be willing to put in the time and effort, of course, because,
It's a commitment.
You can't read it overnight, right? It is a bit of a commitment.
Is that a challenge?
Is it a challenge? Is it a challenge?
No, I'm joking. I can't read 600,000 plus words overnight.
Yeah, it's all right. Most people can't. Don't worry about it.
Maybe in a full 24 hours, but not in a night.
A giant binge reading session that'll fry your brain like nothing else. Anyways, to sum it up, I can't really think of any more advice to give to someone who's willing to read it other than just commitment. If you want to get to the best parts of the story, you got to keep reading. Maybe you can skip around a bit, a few chapters. I put notices in the author's notes, giving some advice to readers. It might be new, but overall, I'd say commitment when it comes to reading. If you want to finish a story and get the full experience, you got to be willing to read it.
I'm guessing you've got similar advice for people wanting to write stories of that magnitude?
Most definitely. And when it comes to writing, let me tell you, I mentioned this earlier, when I was first writing the story, I had no idea where I wanted to take it. I didn't anticipate it would grow this big or this popular at all. And, of course, try to plan it out a bit first so you don't write yourself into a hole or a corner. Plan things out beforehand. Trust me, it'll save you a lot of time and stress. But it can be fun to write things as you go. But if you want to make like a certain kind of narrative, something that's, a bit more concrete, then definitely plan. Plan.
And last but not least, we have a question from one of our patrons, Nateka. His question is, why bats?
Well, I've always liked bats as animals. I've considered them always unique creatures, and they've kind of been chastised throughout history as, bringers of evil and disease. And I thought, well, okay, they do that, but at the same time, they're so much more. They pollinate flowers. They're just neat creatures all around. I've always enjoyed them, and when I was designing OCs for the story originally, and I wanted a character to fit the bill for the Crime Lord of the Nocturnal District, I thought, who else but a bat? And ever since then, my interest for bats has only grown. As I've made use of them more and more, I've decided to, make my Sona here and bat, as you can see. I just think they're interesting creatures all around.
I guess you could say you've gone batty?
You could say that very well.
The editors are definitely keeping that in. That's about all the time we've got for today, folks. So before we go, do you have any final words for our audience, Upplet?
Yes, I would just like to take a moment to thank all the supporters I have had over the years, everyone who so much as even spread a glance at my story, all the generous artists who have made some truly fantastic fan art for it over the years. Specific people come to mind too: Drummer Max 64 for his exuberant reviews, Mindjack and Berserker 88 for letting me use their character, Seamarov Taralis Wildhops for all his advice and continued support over the years, Skeletons and Ragdolls for their fantastic support and art, to Magister Keko for making some truly amazing art, as you've seen earlier, and Piki Kurosaki, who's currently adapting the story into a comic, and so many others. Too many to list. I just want you all to know that I'm very thankful for all the support and interest you've shown me over the years.
Yeah, thank you for coming on to the show tonight, Upplet. It's been a real treat.
It's been my pleasure.
So, if you want to read When Instinct Falls for yourself, you can find the link to the ZNN post about it down in the description. Till next time, I've been Andy Lagopis, and this has been ZNN Interviews. Have a good night, everybody. Shout out to patrons, because that's a thing you do on YouTube. Naketa, KH Darji, Ethan Franco, Kyle Levan, and D. Stewart, and everyone else whose names are currently on the screen. If you want us to do more interviews like this, please consider supporting ZNN on Patreon, and check out our site for daily Zootopia content over at ZootopiaNewsNetwork.com. And remember, as always, try everything.